What does butt in the bucket mean when it comes to enrollment? So here is the story. I'm going to tell you a story about a French tightrope walker. His name was Jean-Francois Gravelet. Jean-Francois Gravelet lived in the mid-1800s, and he was born in France, and he went to see a circus. He lived in Calais in France with his parents, and he was born in, I think, 1830. Circus comes to town when he's a little boy, and he sees a tightrope walker. And he falls in love with the idea of being a tightrope walker. So he starts practicing on his dad's fishing poles when he's like 3 years old. His parents see this immediate gift in this kid, right? Walking the tightrope. So they take him to Lyon, France, and they enroll him in the acrobat school of France. And they let him live his dream. And he's known as the Little Wonder. And when he's 5 years old, he has his first professional tightrope walking gig in the circus. And he's nicknamed Blondin because he had blonde hair like his dad. His dad was Blondin Sr., and little Jean-Francois was nicknamed Blondin Jr. So he's known as Blondin, the boy wonder, and he's a professional tightrope walker from the age of 5, traveling the world with this circus. This circus finally comes to North America, and in 1850 comes to Niagara Falls. And now Blondin is in his 20s, and he sees Niagara Falls and has a dream to stretch a tightrope across Niagara Falls and tightrope across Niagara Falls. No one had ever done this before. He has to save up for months to build the rope. No rope existed that was 1,000 feet long and 3 inches thick, which is what he needed. So he saves up his money for months, Blondin does. And he builds the rope, and he announces to all the newspapers that he's going to be walking a tightrope across Niagara Falls. They think the guy is nuts. They write up all these scathing, sarcastic articles, but the word gets out. Blondin's passing out flyers, posters. He's making posters all over Niagara Falls, and word gets out. And people start buying a 25-cent ticket to see this guy cross Niagara Falls on a tightrope. And finally the day comes, all the newspapers come, they think he's nuts. Thousands of people come to see this guy do something no one had ever done before. Cross Niagara Falls on a tightrope. And Blondin stands up in front of the crowd of thousands of people at the start of the tightrope, and he says, "Do you believe? Do you believe?" And about 10% of the crowd goes, "Yes," kind of sarcastically, and the rest heckle him. And he turns and he walks across Niagara Falls on the tightrope safely all the way to one side. Blondin crosses all the way back, stands there again in front of the crowd and says, "Now, do you believe?" And they all cheer, "Yes, we believe." And he keeps walking across this tightrope week after week, and he starts to get extra daring to keep the crowd alive and to keep the crowd growing. He stands up a couple weeks later and says, "Do you believe I can walk across a tightrope on stilts?" And he's got stilts. And the crowd says, "We believe!" And he does it. Then he has wicker baskets that he stuffs his feet into. "Do you believe I can cross a tightrope on wicker baskets?" The crowd says, "I believe!" Then he has a little stove. And he says, "Do you believe that I can walk across the tightrope, stop in the middle, cook an omelet on this heavy stove, and then lower the omelet down to a boat where all the people in the Maid of the Mist, they wear all the parkas to watch the falls from the water. The boats were parking underneath the tightrope to watch him. Do you believe I can lower the omelet down to the boat and have someone on the boat eat an omelet?" And they're like, "Yes, we believe." And he does it. He carries a stove on the tightrope out to the middle, cooks an omelet, lowers it down to the Maid of the Mist, and some lucky person on that boat in the parka eats an omelet. He comes back, "Do you believe? We believe." Finally, one day, he shows up with a wheelbarrow. He says, "Do you believe I can walk across Niagara Falls pushing this wheelbarrow back and forth safely?" And the crowd says, "We believe." And he says, "Awesome. Who's going to get in the wheelbarrow?" No one. No one raises their hand. And he's like, "I thought you believe." And finally, one hand goes up and says, "I believe." And it's his manager. His manager knew him. His manager gets in the wheelbarrow. In other words, his manager goes from sideline belief to butt in the bucket belief, putting his butt in the bucket of that wheelbarrow. And Blondin walks, heavy wheelbarrow, right, all the way across Niagara Falls. The rope would bend 60 feet, it would sag in the middle, and the winds would blow the rope. And Blondin walks with that wheelbarrow, with his manager in the wheelbarrow, all the way across Niagara Falls and safely back. And the crowd goes nuts. So here's the question. Think about the thing you have never done before. Blondin did something no one had ever done before. The papers ridiculed him. The crowds gathered really to see him fail. What have you never done before that you would love? What is pulling on your heart? What is your dream? What would you love that you haven't done before? And are you screaming, I believe, in that dream from the sideline of your life? Or is it time to get your butt in the bucket? Is it time? What is that thing for you? I invite you right now to think about that thing that you would love. The next chapter for you, the thing you have never done before, and ask, what am I not doing? There's something that you're not doing. Maybe there's something you're scared to do. You know how I know there's something that you're not doing? Something maybe you're scared, because if that weren't true, you'd already have that thing. You'd already have it. Here's something else I know about you. You have already put your butt in the bucket in many, many ways. Think about all the successes that you have had in your life because you took a risk, because you took a chance, because you put your butt in that bucket. You did it. If you have ever taken a chance like that and put your butt in the bucket in your life, text below, say, yes, I have, Rich. Say, yes, I have. Text that below. Well, guess what? It's time again. Something is calling your name. And you've been saying, I believe, from the sideline. It's time. It's time to get your butt in the bucket and really take the ride. Because people are watching. You have a crowd gathered around you. People are watching to see if you're really going to live the life you would love living, if you're really going to live that next dream. And it's not going to happen with the sideline, I believe. I believe that dream is calling out to you. Just like Blondin called out to that crowd, that dream is calling out to you, saying, do you believe? And you're saying, I believe. And your dream is saying, then get in the bucket. You really believe? Get your butt in the bucket. It's time. If it's time for you to get your butt in the bucket, text below here. Say, I'm in, Rich. Say, I'm in. Text below. Say, I'm really in. And finally, text below. Say, I'm putting my butt in the bucket. And so it is. And so it is. Because if you want something you've never had, you got to do something you've never done. That means putting your butt in the bucket. If you know someone that could use the butt in the bucket talk today, share this video with someone that you care about, someone that you know is going for a dream, someone that you know could use some encouragement. I appreciate that. And this is Rich Boggs, your heart-centered sales coach here from the Life Mastery Institute. Make it a great day. Put your butt in the bucket. I'll be talking to you real soon. Bye, everyone.